Hello. 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 Like that. Words turn into grunts, and grunts into phrases, and phrases into sentences, and sentences into nothing. And it'll dry. Alright. Yeah, I never know how many people are actually going to jump on. It's really weird. Sometimes it'll be like a bunch on YouTube and no one on Twitch for like the whole time, and then other times it'll be like 10 people on Twitch and like 4 people or 5 people on YouTube, or it'll be like 12 people on YouTube and like 2 people or 3 people on Twitch. I don't know. And then some days it goes up to 20. I think the highest I ever saw was like 24 people. I think that's my record, my current all-time high. It's like 24 or something like that. If I remember correctly. Okay. Am I coming through? Everyone out there in TV land. Yes. Goons, it's been a hot minute since I've been awake late enough to tune in, not gonna lie. 24 is the score. We put numbers on the board, huh? We'll see. Numbers on the board. Okay, so hopefully the music's not too loud. I got some I always put the link to whoever I'm listening to. So it's a playlist actually. But what's actually currently playing through, let me get that link. Just I'm surprised I hadn't listened to this before. I'm actually ashamed. There's hi, Dystymie. That's a cool name, like as in dysthymia based. Is that what it means, dystymie? Is it dysthymia? That's pretty cool. What is it? Peach Rat. Okay, so it's I guess an artist called Kobold, and they do chiptune dungeon synth, which is pretty fucking rad. Because I already like myself some dungeon synth. It's pretty sick. But chiptune dungeon synth, that's too much. That's too much for me. That's like too good. Because that's just like nostalgia shit for me. Because I grew up on Nintendo and Sega Genesis and Super, and then so I got some dungeon synth, which is, you know, me, my nerdy shit. Grew up on D&D and stuff. So you're combining, you know, chiptune with D&D, cool ass covers, spooky, you know, atmospheres, dungeons full of goblins and evil things that want to gobble up your guts. Yeah, it's fun. It's good shit. Demon Scene. Oh, Demon Scene or Demon Seed? Because I know there's a game called Demon Seed. Or am I thinking of something else? Demon Seed? Demo Scene. Oh, got that Demo Scene. Oh, it would have been cooler if it was Demon Scene. I like that. I like that better. Okay, so guys, before you think, oh, I'm gonna leave, he's just talking about like the community where people make 8-bit music that's royalty free. Seed can be its own thing. Yeah, there is a game called Demon Seed, I think, or a movie. I don't know. Definitely a movie, but there's Demon Wind. Oh, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I Twitch doesn't seem to care too much if I use like weird indie music, and YouTube, I demonetize my YouTube channel, like. Because fuck that. I don't want commercials on my YouTube channel since they don't pay me well enough. The movie about a smart house that tries to get a woman pregnant. That's pretty crazy. I didn't know there was a movie about that. That's the Demon Seed movie. Sick. Alright. Well, now I know that. Okay, guys. So before I scare everyone off, I'm thinking I have nothing to talk about or nothing to bring up. I have something fun today that I have found a, would it be considered I guess it's I mean, it's not a blog post, it's more of an article, because it was medically reviewed, apparently. So somebody wrote it, and it was medically reviewed. And I thought it was a really cool article, and I'm going to read through it. And I'm going to show it. Let's read through it. It came out in 2022, and I was just looking for, because I was just really interested in general, like the topic of autism, schizoid personality disorder overlaps. I've seen like people post like, you know, the little chart that has like the schizoid stuff and then the autism stuff and then there's stuff in the middle, you know, the, what do you call that fucking is it a Venn diagram? Am I thinking of the right thing? Venn diagram? Venn diagram? Anyway, is that the right word? Someone confirm. No, not horseshoe. That's a different. That's horseshoe theory. Well, there could be a mental health horseshoe theory. That is a Venn diagram. Okay, cool. That Venn diagram that has autism, the schizoid, and there's stuff in the middle, and there's some stuff that's kind of like seemingly exclusive or whatever. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting topic. Like, that's one of those recognized overlaps, or sometimes it's recognized as like oh, it could like misdiagnose people. Some people might say that that's part of the reason why there's so many schizoids that got like diagnosed with autism as kids or something, and then later they got diagnosed schizoid, and you know, so on and so forth, right? Now, here's what's cool about this. So I'm gonna go over it. Just gonna go over some information. There's one section in particular that I was like, wow. I think that's the first time I've read anyone ever say that anywhere. So I thought that was kind of cool, and I'm not trying to hype it. It was just surprising to read this one little sentence that I was like, all right, that's the first time I've come across that. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let me. I don't think anybody's in here with me right now. If anybody does want to jump in to talk as I'm going through the article, please, you are more than welcome to do so. Shadow, if you're out there, this might be interesting. But Shadowfall is like a shadow, appears and disappears. Horseshoe of Autism, Schizoid. That's that J-Reg video. Yeah, J-Reg did that one. J-Reg's not doing that stuff anymore. J-Reg's doing other shit now. He's I don't know what's his current. He went past the normie whatever arc. The mental health is good, and I'm stable arc. I don't know what his current arc is. I forgot. I don't know. There's an arc that's currently happening. Fourth wall breaking J-Reg arc maybe or something, because it seems to be getting a little more seemingly personal. Okay. So let's get right into it. So I'm gonna do this because it'll be easier for me. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this tab out. Pull the tab and do that. Pausing this. Okay. And then I'm going to, hopefully this works, so you guys can see. Oh, there it is. It's not very big, is it? Well, I might make myself smaller. I don't matter. There we go. This matters. Why is it in black and white? That's fine. If it's a theme and you can still read it. We don't need colors, right, people? Who needs colors? Colors are overrated. Okay. So, let's get right into it. I personally found this interesting. For some of you that are less familiar with this kind of stuff, it might be interesting to you. But also, like I said, there's like a little blurb that I thought was kind of cool. Alright, I'll begin at the top and then I'll just kind of comment on what pops out at me, and it might be informative. So, this was written by a Jared C. Pistoia, and it was medically reviewed by Danielle Roberts, PhD, BC, BAE. So, the article is this schizoid personality disorder, autism, or both? That's what's interesting. Right? That I don't ever hear mentioned very much, ever. I've read other stuff where there's comparisons and other stuff like that, but I didn't come across one where they even contemplated that. Okay. Let me actually put it here. It's bugging me. Okay. Is it still showing? I just want to make sure it's showing, right? We're good. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's start here. The line between autism and schizoid personality disorder can sometimes be blurry, but a closer look reveals the difference may lie in social capacity versus motivation. You're already a mod, because you're a mod everywhere, Melee. Just so you know. Okay. Have you or someone close to you always felt that it's a challenge to connect with others, preferably to spend a lot of time alone, or feel emotionally vested in circumstances? I'm diagnosed both now. Based, Peach Rat. Did not know. Alright. If so, you may be curious about autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and schizoid personality disorder. If you're already familiar with these conditions, you may wonder what the similarities and differences are. They can at first seem identical, but there are key differences. So how can you tell one from the other? This is your new... I don't know. I'm not too sure. Automatic. They just knew. The ether felt your energy. Melee. Okay. Nuances of autism and schizoid personality disorder. Autism diagnosis exists on a spectrum, meaning that symptoms may vary in type and degree. While severe autism may include learning disabilities, high-functioning autism can have elevated learning capacities. Autism is collectively underpinned by difficulties with social behaviors. As one of the 10 different types of personality disorders, schizoid personality disorder is unique from ASD. Personality disorders similarly disrupt people's ability to bond with others, solve problems, or adapt to changes in environment. Personality disorders resemble the basic structure of autism, but aren't quite as complex. Okay. I don't know about that, but we'll see. It might be the same thing in some instances, not all. Autism symptoms: repetitive behavior, speech. Schizoid PD symptoms: odd or eccentric speech. Inflexibility, strict routines for autism. Concrete, obsessional thinking for schizoid. Special fixed interests for autism. Unusual preoccupations for schizoid. Social withdrawal for autism. Social withdrawal for schizoid. Emotionally detached for autism. Emotionally detached for schizoid. Sensory issues for autism. Unusual perceptual experiences. Now that's interesting, because usually most stuff doesn't connect schizoid PD to the unusual perceptual experiences. Usually you only see that when you're talking about schizotypal. And what's interesting, unusual perceptual experiences might not necessarily mean like straight up hallucinations or delusions. It could be stuff that's a lot more mild, or the person can still easily discern between reality and something that's an unusual perception. So for example, imagine, if you will, right, I can imagine a situation in which a schizoid would have some unusual perceptual experience and then sort of like have enough introspection to realize or be able to go, that's probably not what's happening. Like you know those moments when there's like some insane level of serendipity, or you think you see something at the corner of your eye, but you know, just like these weird little things that you would just probably go, yeah, no, that's stop it, brain, that's stupid, and then you just move on and you just kind of continue. Like this, here. It's funny that they say repetitive speech for autism. To pop psychology referred to stimming, and OCD eccentric speech. To pop psychology referred to disorganized speech. With disorganized speech, for a lot of schizospects can be very common, include repetitive elements. Like the schizo writing stereotype is literally just saying, get out of my head, get out of my head, get out of my head. Yep, it's funny. Yeah. Or just like writing shit on the walls, the same like thing on the walls over and over and over. Or like the, what is it? The mathematician that loses his mind, you know, and just like goes off the deep end. You know, it's you know, there's certain tropes, yeah, that would kind of, yeah. Anyway, for the schizospec stuff, but in any case, I feel like there's a lot of schizoids that are described like having some unusual perceptual experiences, but they just kind of go, yeah, that's not real, and they're rare. And sometimes they don't happen at all. But if they were to, I feel like that's how a schizoid would react to something like that. Like synesthesia, yeah, of course. But I feel like if something kind of odd or perceptual happened that doesn't seem right, I feel like the schizoid reaction would be to kind of shrug. Or just be like, oh, guess my brain's misfiring. Huh. And then just go back to their business. That's kind of what I imagine a lot of schizoids would do because of that sort of emotional detachment. But anyway, let's keep going. Social aspects of autism versus schizoid personality disorder. Although both disorders have a list of defining symptoms, there is a key difference between them. Generally, ASD involves challenges in social capacity due to early neurodevelopmental challenges. On the other hand, the focus of schizoid personality disorder involves challenges in social motivation, according to a 2021 study. So, what's the difference between social capacity and social motivation? Social capacity in autism. In autism, there are unique neurodevelopmental challenges that begin in early childhood, according to Autism Essay. Sign of autism can be identified as early as 18 months. Childhood caretakers, pediatricians would likely have noticed developmental challenges early in life. Broadly, neurodevelopmental challenges in autism affect the way folks communicate, interact, behave. Some effects are difficulty with comprehension, communication, understanding social cues. I've gotten into that a little bit before, where I'm just like, autism is so dodgy and strange because it's like how much of it is autism, how much of it is comorbidities of autism that are just, if they existed in an isolated way, they would just call it something else and they wouldn't necessarily frame it with autism. You know what I'm saying? Because if you've met a lot of autistic people, you know, you got the different levels or whatever now that they call them. But yeah, they can even the same people that would be previously called like Asperger's or level 1, I think it is now. They would still have like significant differences sometimes in symptoms or issues that they deal with, right? Some of them would have more sensory, less sensory, more specific type of sensory, more, you know, it just varies so much that it's like, are these coexisting with something else? And it's just a higher predilection to develop a certain type of symptomology that's associated more closely with autism, but isn't necessarily autism. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Lacking social motivation differs from lacking social capacity because motivation signifies desire, whereas capacity signifies capability. For example, an autistic person may be strongly motivated to pursue intimacy and connection. In contrast, someone living with schizoid personality disorder might often be content alone. While it's generally accepted that autistic folks are socially motivated, this notion is not completely certain. Research from 2018 highlighted the social motivation hypothesis, or the potential for autism to also be defined by a lack of social motivation. This proposition could challenge whether or not autism and schizoid personality disorder truly differ in this regard. Like most personality disorders, the cause of schizoid personality disorder is currently unknown. Cameron Fariba and Vikas Gupta, authors of Schizoid Personality Disorder. Why haven't I read this book? Okay. Oh, it's an article that I haven't read that was recently updated as well. Okay, keeping that on the maybe that'll be the maybe pile for another stream. Where was I? Oh yeah. So speculate the condition may be inherited. So this is in reference to schizoid personality disorder. Inherited related to environmental factors, involve brain function changes. Ooh, look at that! Right? Involve brain function changes. Right, there might be, like in my mind, is it just a unique, special kind of, neurodivergence, or is it perhaps a set of negative symptoms and maladaptations associated with neurodivergent people being traumatized because they're neurodivergent? There's a lot to be traumatized about. All right, diagnosing schizoid personality disorder. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual, blah, 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 DSM. Personality disorder requires 4 or more of the following symptoms. Almost always choose solitude and solitary activities. I could already hear some of the r/schizoids going like, hey, he has a YouTube channel, he must not be schizoid, and he has too much energy, and he talks too much. And it's like, that could just be chalked up to the ADHD, right? So, avoidance of close relationships and lack of desire for them. Lack of close friends other than immediate family. Lack of interest in sex with others, emotional detachment or lack of emotional expression, indifference to praise or criticism, experiences minimal pleasure from activities. It's really interesting because as animated as I can sometimes be, I can be pretty detached at the same time. I'm just having kind of like I'm not masking, but I'm just kind of trying to have fun and, stuff like that. It's not masking. It's more like I'm trying to, what's the word, like push out some of the feels in there a little bit extra, even though it can be a little exhausting. I definitely don't have a lack of interest in sexy time. but I also don't have a super strong all the time interest. You know what's really funny is my interest in that subject matter. I think I have a stronger academic interest than I do a libido. But even though I would say my libido is pretty average, decently average. But like I could talk about that subject a lot, but I could talk about it in a very academic fashion, more than I would be interested in talking about it like, ooh, sexy. You know, that's just for wifey. Emotional detachment. Okay, I already read all that. But anyways, let's see here. Diagnosing autism. Okay, so let's go straight to it. Challenges social emotional reciprocity. Cannot hold a basic back and forth conversation or respond to social interactions. That one's weird, man. I talked to plenty of autistic people that can do that. That's why I go to certain websites to get like more autistic perspectives or doctors that are autistic about autism. Because sometimes I'm like, challenges. Okay, I'll take challenges, right? Emotional reciprocity, I've seen more of that. But actual just holding a conversation back and forth, and yeah, I mean, that's I rarely have problems with autistic people when it comes to just holding a conversation, going back and forth on a subject matter. But then again, I'm neurodivergent, so maybe there's a reason the communication's going pretty well. Let me see here. What is it? Honestly, for the can't maintain back and forth combo is either for extremely severe autism or for very young children. Yeah, and that's what I mean when somebody's severely autistic. Sometimes I wonder, like, is this just autism, or is this autism plus some other kind of syndrome or condition that is not just being wrapped up with just autism as like kind of a all or nothing bag or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. Challenges with nonverbal communication, trouble with eye contact, challenges with understanding, maintaining and developing relationships. It must also include 2 of the 4 of these: repetitive movements, phrases, or characteristic movements. You know what's really funny is repetitive movements is kind of something that like ADHD people do as well. So there's an overlap there. Like I do a lot of repetitive movements, like shaking my legs. I fidget like a lot with my fingers and stuff like that. People always complain like, oh, your desk keeps moving, Angst, when you're streaming. Yeah, sometimes. It depends on like my level of sort of whatever. A lot of tradition about autism is medical model BS. Yes, it is. Inflexibility towards routine, small changes, transitions. From my experience, yeah, that's generally the case. They're not fans. I wish Shadow was here for this. But they're not fans of having plans and then having those plans be changed or altered out of nowhere. That usually causes a significant amount of distress in every autistic person I've talked to. And what's funny is that kind of stuff I've heard a lot from schizoids as well. They are oftentimes not fans of that. That's why I think some of them are on this side of things, but whatever. Restricted or fixated interests. Under or overactivity to senses. Furthermore, symptoms must have begun in childhood. Ooh, right. That's what's weird. Right? This is something that I had brought up with somebody, just having a convo. And this is what's funny about the schizoid, at least in my opinion. Okay, so imagine a kid is autistic, you know, high level, whatever, high function, whatever they want to call it now. And they're showing like behaviors and asking weird questions and drifting off a lot and getting preoccupied or having like, you know, little meltdowns or temper tantrums about like really kind of odd shit. And let's just say their early developmental years, like the parent is like trying to redirect and fix it, ignore it, you know, a variety of things, right? To sort of like navigate it and manage it, right? And it's not so severe that, or whatever you want to call it, that like the parent goes, oh, I need to take my child, right? I don't know how many of you guys have heard this, but there's so many parents, especially like, you know, last couple generations here, that they might have had a child that had very kind of odd, what would be considered now neurodivergent behavior. And the level of denial parents have in the past, especially for my child is normal, right? My child is fine. They're not a retard. You know, it's that's a lot. That's a lot of years of that shit. So that leads to kids not getting any kind of attention that they need, or help, or but then again, the help they were given even in the 80s and 90s was pretty fucking grim. But in any case, yeah. And so that's a major thing that happened to me. Like, if you go up to my mom and you ask her, "Oh, little Angst, what was he as a little kid?" If you ask me, I'll tell you like all this weird shit. Just finished watching your last stream. Oh, cool. If you tell me like, "Oh, what were you as a kid, Angst?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I thought this weird stuff. I had these weird experiences. I was having like some weird schizo thoughts my whole life, like just loose associating, looking like it felt like I was a fourth wall breaking as a kid. Meta narratives were like building up automatically in my head, even when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, though they became more and more complex as I got older. And all this sort of stuff's happening in my internal world. And if you were to ask my mom, what kind of kid was he? She would say, "Oh, he was a great kid. He was normal. He was fine. He was a little introverted. He kept to himself. He was shy. But, we put him in Little League, and he was in Boy Scouts. And, he did great." And so on and so forth. Complete reality shift as to... And the problem is this, right? And this is why I'm bringing it up. I have very few memories of my childhood, except for internal ones, right? And even those, they're very specific. And so if I didn't have those memories, right, and then I asked my family, "Hey, what was I like as a kid?" Because like, say my present behavior is like, maybe it's a little autistic, or maybe it's a little this, or maybe it's like you're questioning it. If it was just up to like getting a report from them, they would make it sound like nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong. And well, then again, I got diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, and they kept it from me until my late 20s because they thought I'd grow out of it. So there's that. But in any case, yeah. So imagine you forget those memories, and all you have to confirm things is the people around you that don't even know your internal world or any of that shit. That's great. And say you're disassociated enough from yourself throughout a lot of your childhood because of trauma and other shit. And then you grow up and you're older and you're like, "Oh, I must be some fucking cursed freak that just can't stand being around people and just sticks, as a hikikomori or whatever." It's like, no. Nah, there's probably some other shit going on, bud. There's probably some other shit going on. But anyway, let's keep going down here. Can schizoid personality disorder be mistaken for autism? Given that autism and schizoid personality disorder resemble each other, they can be mistaken. A 2014 study found a strong relationship between several traits in both conditions. The overlap is particularly true for traits that result in disorganized social relationships, such as odd speech, belief, or behavior. Generally, here are some reasons why the two disorders can be mistaken. Schizoid personality disorder can resemble mild cases of autism in adults. Autism can outwardly appear as schizoid personality disorder. Autism includes most symptoms of schizoid personality disorder. If they do occur, diagnostic mistakes are likely to be made in adulthood. This is because children are generally evaluated by healthcare professionals for delays in developmental milestones, including social behaviors. So the key traits of autism occurring in childhood, such as difficulty with reduced eye contact, limited speech, or repetitive behaviors, are likely to be detected early in life. You would think, right? And that's the big mistake there, I think, on that assumption. How many fucking kids out there did not get it was a combination of ignorance, denial, and just the general 80s, 90s, especially if you're that age, or even early 2000s, my kid is not a retard type of father or mother. My kid's not going to be in special ed. He's normal. He's just like everyone else. And, in their mind, they're thinking I'm saving my child from ridicule and bullying. And to some degree, maybe they were, but maybe that ridicule and bullying would have been better than being ridiculed and bullied anyway in life, whether it was more actively or more passively, depending on your situation. But not always the case, right? Not everyone got bullied. In any case, where was I? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, if they do occur, diagnostic mistakes can be social behaviors. Wait. Okay, wait. So the key traits of autism occurring in childhood, such as difficulty with... Oh yeah, I already did that. In schizoid personality disorder, these traits are observed not as difficulties in performance, but a lack of desire to do so. My God. Like, it's just funny to me, because, like, I would just assume a lack of desire can oftentimes kind of go hand in hand with a difficulty with it. But, you know, whatever. Right? If something's difficult and you don't care about it, and a lot of things that autistic people have to learn to do and manage are difficult, and they don't care about them intuitively. They just have to teach themselves to care because they have to manage. It's just a chore. But anyway, let's see here. Autism is a behavior-only diagnosis, so it can be hundreds of neurobiological factors. Yep, I'm reading YouTube chat right now. Do you think trauma is necessary to develop schizoid personality disorder? Since the age of 5, I've always been like this to some degree. I'm not going to go deeply into it again, but my armchair belief, my dumb armchair belief is that schizoid personality disorder is trauma. That's the trauma of a neurodivergent person growing up in neurotypical environments that at the time had no means or way of allowing them to have people to mirror, places to ask the questions they had, places to nurture the sort of neurodivergent aspects of their thinking, their behavior, their needs, emotional and otherwise. I think it's the trauma of feeling like an alien in your environment, and then the eventual sort of locked in that happens because of that. Because, I mean, if like I said, I've said it before, if your feelings, thoughts, interests are irrelevant to the world, even if it's not malevolent, that it's being shown to be as such, yeah, you do that enough to a kid for, you know, most of their developmental years, and they're gonna go, oh, I don't exist, or aspects that make me are irrelevant and unhelpful. Let's forget about those and learn how to navigate all this stuff to the best of my ability. And then there's the people that go, let's forget about those, just hold myself in, or keep those parts of it that I do remember inside forever, where no one can destroy it or it will see the light of day, you know, that kind of stuff. Good times. Anyway, see here. I was missed, however, it was because my parents were ND too. Thought I was perfect. Yeah, there's always a fun way to fuck up a kid in there. It's depressing. I'm trying my best to do with my kids to not do that. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. Can you have both autism and schizoid personality? This is where it gets fun. The notion that social motivation may also be reduced in those living with autism challenges whether or not both conditions are truly independent. Further, this 2021 study noted that autistic traits may outright precede cases of schizoid personality disorder, though if they did, it says they would likely be mild traits. It's possible that schizoid personality disorder could ultimately end up on the autism spectrum in the future. That was the big sentence I read. That I have never seen that on paper, digital, or otherwise, and anything where any kind of ND was involved in either writing it or approved it or anything. I've never seen that sentence. It's possible that schizoid personality disorder could ultimately end up on the autism spectrum in the future. Now, that's not to say that I think that all schizoids are autistic. No, I think that all schizoids are neurodivergent. Not necessarily autistic. Hence, I keep bringing up the schizo-spectrum. That's why those are the two people I constantly come across. You got the schizoids and you got the autist schizoids. And man, they're all over the goddamn place. And sometimes they butt heads. So they'll like agree on everything except for like when they get into like specific subjects, and then boom, 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 boom. Okay, things like that happen. Weird things. Or you got the fun peeps, right? That, you know, live in horseshoe land, where they have like, you know, delusions and shit, but or not delusions, but they have like really, really meta thinking, but they're really, really autistic about it. And it's like, so even they have trouble like connecting to other autistic people, even though they're autistic, because their thought patterns are like kind of different and whatever. It's a fun time. Let me see here. What? Let's see here. Gooms the Mage. I've read fucking textbooks on the schizo-spectrum. If there was a genetic link between schizo-spec and autism, they would have linked that before they linked fucking avoidant PD to schizo-spec. Help. Sorry for yelling. That hit me like a fucking atom bomb. Sorry about that, Gooms the Mage. Didn't mean to. But it definitely hit me when I read it. I was like, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look at that study later on. That would make somebody write that sentence. Since its main causes are poorly understood, it might involve some degree of neurodevelopmental changes. Regardless, it's currently recognized as an independent condition. Ultimately, the resemblance between both conditions suggests that they can indeed coexist. If you show signs of autism, schizoid personality disorder likely would not be co-diagnosed. So this is saying they could coexist, but it's likely you're not going to get a co-diagnosis. I think it's possible to happen, but I think the giant autism umbrella is getting too big and losing its usefulness. PDA is a great example of that. PDA, that's what's really interesting. I was looking into PDA. I feel like a lot of like, I don't think how do I put this? I don't know that PDA is necessarily just an autistic thing. I think it's similar to what I'm talking about with schizoid. I think it might just be a neurodivergent thing. Because imagine, like, it sounds like a neurodivergent kid with, you know, cognitive differences trying to navigate the world and going, no, I don't like this. I don't want to do these things. I want to do the other things that my brain is telling me to do and care about. And so they have to negotiate and deny, and then they get like incredibly, reactive or anxious when being demanded things, because the vast majority of even their childhood is like feeling like doing a bunch of shit you don't give a fuck about, or but you can't really think about it like that as a kid. You just feel like, hey, wait, I don't want to do this. I don't care about this. I want to do this thing. I want to touch the water. I want to see it, the ripples, So there's a lot going on there. In any case, let's recap. Autism is a more complex condition, maybe. It affects multiple aspects of your behavior and function. So does schizoid. It doesn't only involve skills related to social function, but also includes unique characteristics like restricted and repetitive behaviors, fixed interests, inflexibility. Well, see plenty of that in schizoids. And then what's really interesting too is that like they keep talking about like schizoids and social stuff, but like, man, they don't talk about like a lot of the disassociation. They don't talk about like the disconnect from this and that and the identity hole and the void that comes with it, right? It's like, oh, they just don't like to be around people. It's like, oh yeah, that's it. That's it. They just don't like to be. They just socially isolate. That's what makes them schizoids. That's it. They're socially isolated like an autist might be, but they don't have, sensory issues and this other thing. That's the only difference. It's like, yeah, all right, sure, bud. If you think you may be living with either condition, it's best to speak to a mental health professional. Psychologists are trained to diagnose and treat personality disorders, though they generally don't treat personality disorders, especially these kind, as well as autism, and can help you get any care that you may need. And because there's a few of you here, and I've said it before, they don't talk about the boredom in ASPD either. Oof. Yeah, and the boredom in schizoid, right? Same shit. It's like, I don't want to do any of this. Why not? It's that feeling. I'm like, and then when you're like, hey, why do I have to do this stuff? Because that's the way it is. And if you want to make it in life, these are the things you have to do. It's like, oh, so I'm in a hell prison planet. Right? That's what's funny. When you're like cognitively neurodivergent, like on the autism side or the schizo side of things, man, life in neurotypical landia can feel like a hell prison. Just remember, I'm PDA Mama Bear, just not using... Oh yeah, that's right! Oh, I forgot you were PDA Mama Bear. Shit, see, I'm really bad. I tell everyone. By the way, PDA Mama Bear is great. I did some videos with her on my channel on YouTube. But, man, I tell everyone, I can't remember. If you guys have a different tag name than the name that you use that I know when I've communicated with you, there's no fucking way. I can't do it. That's why I'm so happy that Melee is now Melee instead of Mitsu. At least on here. It's just so much easier. I can't. I was like, I know Peach Rat. Like, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, hey, Peach Rat. I've seen Peach Rat. Oh, yeah, Peach Rat. I remember it was a cool person. I forgot completely. It was PDA Mama Bear. That's funny. I can't do it. Hi. But in any case, yeah. So I often wonder, like, okay, so if for a cognitively neurodivergent person, growing up in a neurotypical, neuronormative environment is really distressful, causes a lot of difficulties, stress, anxiety, frustration, angst, anger maybe, all kinds of other things, right? Now, imagine a world in which, you know, that's readily available for you at any given moment. That's kind of a hell prison planet, isn't it? It's not too good. Not too great. Not the most enjoyable of existences. Let's just say. Right? Unless you're like, got some kind of neurological disorder that's deep enough that you can't even notice. You know, you can't even notice how bad it is. In that case, well then, you know, that's a different story. I forgot what syndrome it is, but there's that one that could still be really dangerous. The one that the person's like excitable and happy all the time, but they can get themselves really hurt and all kinds of stuff, and they want to hug people, and then they're like really happy all the time and they're laughing all the time, and yeah. I mean, maybe if you have that, you don't realize as much what kind of hell planet you live on. But when you don't have that, it's pretty bad sometimes. So my point is that badness is trauma that can lead to trauma, and that trauma can lead to different types of maladaptations and defenses. Is that so far-fetched, people? Is that so absurd? Right. So that's what I think schizoid is. I think that is one of those things. And I bet there's other ones that we don't have a name for. There's probably very autistic specific types of disorders that develop due to the trauma of this. Right? It's so absurd to me. It's like thinking that autistic people can't develop their own unique type of personality disorders. I mean, they're so different in so many other ways. Why wouldn't they develop very different looking behaviors when it comes to how they respond to specific types of trauma? Considering that what they're usually responding to that is trauma to them would not be trauma perhaps to another person, or it is trauma to another person, but it would be trauma in a different way. Sorry. One more? No. I always sneeze in like packs. But yeah, I just like for example, and I brought this up before, and so it's not a big shock anymore. Like, I'm a victim of CSA. I'm a victim of CSA. Right? And the way my brain interpreted my CSA events, and the parts of it that are traumatic to me, are very, very fucking different than what I read other people describe when it comes to CSA stuff. Like, the aspects of it that made it the most traumatic were, I mean, in many cases had almost nothing to do with the actions that occurred, but the responses to those actions discovery. So that was far more traumatizing, and is the source of a variety of issues that I've grown up with, from panic disorders to probably agoraphobia. But yeah, the way my brain interprets it, and what was traumatizing about it, and the way I kind of engage with the world, and the types of threats I perceive and things of that nature are very different. My perception of such things are incredibly unconventional and outliers. Why would my maladaptations and so on not be the same? Why would they not be the same? So yes, they need an entire field of psychology or abnormal psychology for autists and for schizospec, but autism might be around the corner for the, specialized psychology. I think there are some people looking into that a little deeper, but that's why I wonder a lot of the interplay between autism, schizoid, and aphantasia too. There's a mess. That's what's so funny. Shadow. I wish Shadow was here today. He's gonna kick himself in the ass when he sees this one. But Shadow is an interesting guy. He deals with a lot, but he's an interesting guy, and he's not the first guy I've met that's kind of like Shadow, where it's like you got autism stuff. There you go. You got autism stuff mixed with aphantasia, mixed with some stuff that would be considered typal. Yeah, it's just a nice little. It's like a neurodivergence mutt. And that's why I think there needs to be more nuance as far as how you delineate certain things. One of the grimmest, the most depressing parts of doing this kind of work is thinking about how schizo-spectrum people are still just considered a personality disorder. Like, and I'm not talking about just schizophrenia, because when I talk about schizophrenia, I think that's like its own separate thing. Anybody can be schizophrenic, in the sense that you can have an autistic schizophrenic, you can have a cognitively neurotypical person that's schizophrenic. Like, so they have all the regular neurotypical everything else, but they occasionally have moments of psychosis in which they deal with hallucination or delusion. But it'll usually be compartmentalized into their field of vision, their cognitive vision. And then you'll have schizo-spectrums, schizophrenics, which are like the more stereotypical schizophrenics, the government, the big thing, God, the big meta fourth wall breaking shit is coming after me. There's a meta narrative, and it's consuming me. And during moments of psychosis, it's like really, really real. Oh yeah. Hold on. Ooh, I'm so glad you're here, Shadow. Hang on 1 second. You're not muted. I'm just deafened. Hello.
Hi. Morning.
Oh, morning. All right. So yeah, man, I wish you were here. You missed like the big line that made I think it was that line that made Goons the Mage explode in my chat, because they were like, "What the fuck?" Is because you just shut up, right?
Yeah, I just got here.
Okay, so I was just reading in a whole article comparing like schizoid to autism, and basically like what is the overlaps, what's not. It's like this whole thing, right? And the part that like and I was giving my takes on everything, right? But the part that was really, really interesting that I hadn't seen in anything else was, and I'll just reread this one section. It was the section that said, "Can you have both autism and schizoid personality?" And it said the notion that social motivation may also be reduced in those living with autism challenges whether or not both conditions are truly independent. That's a big line. Further, there's a 2021 study noted that autistic traits may outright precede cases of schizoid personality disorder. Though, if they did, hold on, my daughter just came in. 1 second. Sorry, my little one. As I was saying, further, this 2021 study noted that autistic traits may outright precede cases of schizoid personality disorder, though if they did, it says they would likely be mild traits. It's possible that schizoid personality disorder could ultimately end up on the autism spectrum in the future. Since its main causes are poorly understood, it might involve some degree of neurodevelopmental challenges or changes. Regardless, it's currently recognized as an independent condition. Ultimately, the resemblance between both conditions suggests that they can indeed coexist. But if you show signs of autism, schizoid personality disorder likely wouldn't be co-diagnosed. There it is. Isn't that fun,
Well,
Shadow?
I can tell you right now, it definitely shouldn't be on the same spectrum.
What do you mean, like the? Oh, you mean like just being like
Well, you're
schizoids
Mr.
or
Prime
autists?
example number one.
Yeah, I know. There's plenty. I mean, I'm not the only fucking one, but yeah, there's plenty
And I
of.
understand why they say that, right? They're
Yeah,
looking at external symptoms. I've said this many, many times in the past, but you externally give off signs that you're autistic to me a lot, but I understand that fundamentally your thought process is way different than mine.
Me and you have nothing in common when it
So
comes
it's
to our
like red
cognitive
herrings
experience. And a
For
variety
anybody
of
that
us.
compares autism and schizoid, in my opinion, I think it's just external red herring.
Well, I mean, but then again, okay, I have to stop you there. Comparing, right? I agree it shouldn't be on the spectrum because I think, like I've said, I was talking
Again,
about
my
earlier.
word choice is poor.
No, it's okay.
But
Yeah. But yeah. As I've said before, I was saying earlier, I think schizoid personality disorder is a neurodivergent personality disorder. And and yes, you can have schizoid autists, and you can have schizoids, but yeah, it shouldn't be. I don't think schizoid should be on either just the schizo spectrum or just the autism spectrum. It's literally, it's not that being schizoid is separate, in my opinion, from being neurodivergent in the sense that it is a set of adaptations and defenses that develop because of that trauma. That's why I think that autistic schizoids and schizo-schizoids, they can come together under the topic of, oh, I grew up feeling like nothing I said mattered because I couldn't, like when I talked, people didn't understand what I was saying, or thought I got in trouble for it, or I got told it wasn't true or it wasn't real, or what I was experiencing wasn't valid, and so on and so forth. And my teachers did the same, and they thought they were being helpful, but they were actually like probably causing a bunch of damage, and so on and so forth. And then but then once they start talking,
it's like a path of good intentions led to hell.
Yeah. But when autist schizoids and schizoids start like talking about like other experiences or other things, that's when they start going like there's more conflict there. Like, oh, that's not what happens to me. Oh, you must be autistic. Oh, not schizoid. Oh, you must. That's what happened. Like, was it like a year and a half, 2 years ago? I think it's 2 years ago when we had, and this is before Shadow was here. When we had the big. There was like a little, it was small considering there's not a lot of drama on my server generally, but there was like a divide there of like, you know, the autist schizoids were like, no, these other schizoids that talk like a schizotypal person, they're not schizoids, they're schizotypals or something. And then the schizotypal schizoids were like, what are you talking about? It literally says schizo and schizoid. We're closer to this. And you guys are just autists that aren't schizoids. You're just autistic. And there was this like...
I've always asserted that regardless of whether or not I truly fit the criteria for being diagnosed officially with this personality disorder, because I'm not, by the way, none of my shit's diagnosed. This is just me being some fuckwad.
Well, this is you being what I said before. Your autistic special interest is your mind, or the human mind, or introspection.
Sure, if you want to go with that.
I mean, I don't know a lot of autistic people that do as much of this as you do when it comes to like all this stuff. But anyway,
I've always asserted that to me, practically speaking, it doesn't really matter too much, because pursuing these topics and interacting with community that are officially diagnosed, and even if they are a little bit different, like especially with more overt hermit people, since I'm not that, even me interacting with them doesn't, whatever dilution of the pool I would be if I weren't actually schizoid, is offset by the fact that I think I at least provide value to the community, and I still have, I still benefit from learning their issues.
I'm not of the opinion that you're not. Honestly, something really interesting Peach Rat said.
At very, very bare minimum, I don't think I'm a nuisance to the community. There's always willing to change, right? But for right now, I think I.
Yes, we all hear your imposter syndrome. Anyway.
Shut up.
Oh, I'm kidding.
That's me being humble. That's not.
Nah, it's you being imposter syndrome mode. Let me see here. But
I'm not schizoid enough to fit in the cool club.
I'm a part of it. In any case, but I hope you guys will take me because I really appreciate the work here now. I'm just fucking with you, Shadow. Let me see here. Peach Rat.
Covering my bases.
Peach Rat said something cool. Which, by the way, that's PDA Mama Bear. I got my autism PDA diagnosis just last month. Right? Doc disagreed with my schizoid. But I told her I don't care. I'm keeping it. Lol. The deep level of introspection is something I've only encountered with other schizoids. But that's what's interesting, right? Because you had a Peach Rat or PDA Mom Bear. You had the schizoid diagnosis before you got this more recent autism PDA diagnosis. Yes. Was that the order it kind of went in? Was the current doc wanted to go? Oh no, not schiz. Yeah. Now the current doc that diagnosed you PDA autism is saying oh, you're not schizoid, you're a PDA autist, and you're like, fuck, and that's why I'm just man, it's so, and that's what I was talking about earlier. I'm like, maybe PDA kids are, maybe those are the kind of kids that are likely to end up schizoid when their fucking defense and their ability to fight back gets fucking worn down and fucking smashed in over the years. Some of them can have the tenacity to hold down the fort, and others collapse under the weight. And I don't blame them, to say the least. But yeah. But I thought it was an interesting, still can't decide whether I should bring this autism stuff up with my psych or not. I don't know, Melee. That's what's rough, Melee.
It might help, or it might pigeonhole you. So, really.
That's the problem. Look at what PDA Mama Bear said, right?
Yeah.
Now they're
if you want something a psych might actually be able to help you to do, because a lot of them don't really understand schizoid, then maybe you do want to pigeonhole yourself into practical
autism
applicability, right?
Yeah. That's the only thing I was thinking about too, Melee, is that whole you probably would get more help, quote, sympathy, state, whatever, if you got switched over from a neurodevelopmental disorder than a personality disorder. And even if you have, you're what I believe to be probably both occurring, exactly what this article is saying. It might be more beneficial to be labeled autistic, because it's considered neurodevelopmental kind of stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, schizoid PD is just, oh, you got traumatized, and so your personality's all fucked. So great, man. I love it. It destroys. Well, like what I was saying earlier too, it destroys me. That schizotypal is still. Oh, you're just a personality disorder. You ended up that way. Oh, there's no neurological issues here that we were going to recognize, and so we're going to treat you like you have just a personality disorder and not neurodevelopmental type of condition that requires extra support. It's no, you just.
And what's even more crazy about that is schizotypal. They've done brain scans on schizotypal, and they have degeneration and stuff similar to schizophrenia and stuff, right?
Well, it's not so much. I know they've noticed specific parts of the brain are more active than others, in similar ways that a schizophrenic person will generally be, and there is parts of the brain that are less developed. But if they look, there's probably I'm guessing there's parts of the brain that are more developed in other respects. So, but but it's a personality disorder. Okay. You know, that's the problem with the categorization of shit. Is when you get a categorization of personality disorder, you're not gonna get the same help. You're not gonna get the same support. You say you're autistic, right? They're gonna give you like certain types of, you know, you might even be able to, in some states, you might be able to get a handicap placard or some shit, right? Yeah.
I know if you're in Australia, for example, they have disabilities for autism.
But my fucking schizoid, schizo-spectrum, fucking agoraphobic ass, I can't tell them, hey, my agoraphobia, it cripples me from being able to walk across large parking lots because of trauma, and it's associated with my schizo-spectrum cognition. Could I get a handicap placard so I can go with my family into SeaWorld without shitting myself and not being able to get out of the car? It's like, no, sorry, agoraphobia doesn't count. That's just a phobia that you can overcome. Blah blah blah. It's like,
that's just like this other thing that you can go to therapy for, and then you'll figure it out in the next 20 years. Goodbye.
Imagine having a condition like agoraphobia. SeaWorld parking lot is a perfect place to shit yourself, to be fair. that is fair.
They said shit yourself.
Oh yeah, they said poop, but they said shit on here. I'll allow it. There you go. I allowed it. Now they're both there. No, there's the shit. Yeah, that's girl's ritual. It's Debbie. So let me see here. Pretty sure ADHD diagnosis is basically a fast pass to Six Flags. Yeah, but it has to be dependent. Like, I don't know, man. It's such a fucking mess. It's such a mess, dude.
To be honest, obviously, I haven't gone to college or anything. I haven't gotten professional education and all that shit. But psychological disorders, personality disorders, are just extremely confusing, and very much do not have a lot of solid. I'm constantly.
They're even confusing to most clinicians. There's there's a subset of clinicians that actually study them and know about them well. Most psychologists don't really know a lot about PDs at all.
Yeah, but those are the only people you can go to when someone needs help or something, right? That's what's kind of fucked. And that and self-help, most schizoids have to do.
I think more neuroscientists should get involved and stuff, especially with schizotypical. I think it could still remain as a personality disorder, but I think maybe more as a personality that results from a neurological difference.
Yeah, which is, in my opinion, either autistic or schizospec.
But I think if you would talk to most clinicians that maybe specialize or work a lot with PDs, they would probably have a specific class of trauma that they would probably require as necessary to diagnose it. Because I guess you could be an eccentric thinker and stuff like that, but not really have the core of schizotypal.
They don't even know what there's 4 books on what the specific type of trauma could be.
I guess there's different theories, but
you got science.
I don't even know if schizotypical is more research than schizoid, to be honest, and schizoid's already fucking bare bones.
Well, they haven't done enough brain scans on schizoids, I'll tell you that. I have a feeling okay, so I don't know if you know this. So they had it was a while ago. They had AI. They did some study where they fed it a bunch of brain scans, right? And the people that were keeping track of everything, the scientists involved or whatever, they knew which brain scans were male and which ones were female, right? And they knew, and so then, or which even I don't even know. I think if I remember correctly, I think they had some I don't know if they actually included trans brains and stuff in there too, but they should have.
I remember their talk being about that, and I can't say for sure, but I believe it could also tell people that were trans. For example, in the case that it could tell it was a female brain, but the person themselves was transgender.
Yeah, and so
like it was like they were born as like it wouldn't tell their assigned sex at birth. It would assign what they
whatever the algorithm was picking up.
Don't quote me on that. But
I don't remember if that was the case. But
there is a thing called brain gender. Like I think Robert Sapolsky has like a talk about it or whatever. But yeah, there's research showing that like a lot of like trans people will sometimes like have like a brain that's like kind of biologically female in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Like chromosomally sometimes.
So my point is they fed all of these images, these MRI sort of images into this thing, and then they basically asked the AI that was kind of built for it to differentiate it and categorize which ones, without them telling it, right, which ones are female brains and which ones are male brains. And they used like a sample to like basically let that, whatever it was. I think it was getting it at like it was like 85% plus, maybe almost 90. It was like a high percentage of accuracy.
It was a very high percentage
of accuracy that
it was at least
the
like
AI
95.
could go girl brain, boy brain, girl brain, boy brain, and it could tell the differences really like fairly quickly, and it had a very high accuracy. So then I'm like thinking, oh man, if you get like, let's just say, I bet you if you got like 150, 200 schizoids, and you said, okay, tell me which of these brains is autistic based on a sample of like 1,000 autistic or 10,000 autistic brains or whatever, and here's like some bunch of schizotypal brains, and then tell us which ones are which, and here's 200, 300 schizoid brain scans. Man, I would not be surprised if there was like, it was just like back and forth. It'll either be like, depending on the sample, it might be like 75, 25, 50. No, it won't be 50-50, but there'll be like, oh yeah, there's a chunk of autistic ones, and here's a chunk of ones that would like coincide with kind of schizotypal brain, schizophrenia, schizo-spectrum brain, whatever. And then it'll just be like boom, boom. And there'll be like some outliers maybe in between, because there's probably people out there that are avoidant. They got diagnosed schizoid or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, man, it's a mess. That's why I was excited about that prospect. If we can get AI to actually be able to differentiate this accurately, meaning you test it to see if it can significant amount of times before you actually use it as something like to add to your decision-making process as a doctor, that would be fucking amazing. That would be fucking great.
I want to be able to use it like within groups, like what you were talking about with like schizoids and stuff like that, to like delineate types. Mm-hmm. I think it would be really interesting, especially just to get like a bunch of people diagnosed with autism, and like to delineate different types as far as like brain patterns.
Yeah.
Because like I think like autism actually is sometimes too broad of a category to be like helpful sometimes, and I think like we should have like like neurodivergency be split up into like specific brain patterns, I guess.
Imagine if like I don't know, 20, I mean, I don't know, AI is just so ridiculous and fast, but let's just say I'm gonna give it, I don't know, like minimum like 10 years, because I don't know how quick this shit's going. It could be 20, but I don't think it's going to be more than 20, where you're going to have a situation where, you're going to bring in your 5-year-old. Everyone's going to bring in their 5-year-old, have like some kind of little brain scan, and then they're going to be like, and then there's going to be a long ass list of stuff that the fucking AI will go through, and then it'll be like, oh, these are the percentages of the likelihood based on like the information we've collected over the years of brains, and it'll be like, oh, here's a higher likelihood of this and this and this and this based on this, so this is what to look out for, and then you would use that information to do further diagnostic studies and ask more questions and so on and so forth, depending on.
I feel like this is slowly going towards
that.
Yeah, I know. I don't want Gattaca. No, what would be cool is if we had the technology of Gattaca, but the understanding of not Gattaca. So if we had the inclusivity, understanding, and meta cognition, plus Gattaca ridiculous sci-fi. Well, it wouldn't
I'm
be
not
ridiculous.
I'm not gonna open up that rabbit hole.
I open it up,
all
man,
about
because
it,
I think
so-
that's the only motherfucking way they're gonna figure this shit out.
No, I'll save that for another time. But I'm bored.
Okay. Oh no, you mean talking about it? Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, hey, I had a lot of people watching. So by the way, if you like the streams, if you like this stream, if you like the other streams, if some of them are not so good, some of them are better. I'll try to make my streams better. I'm stressed out a lot. Sometimes I can't do that. Next Thursday, is going to be head empty Thursday. So if you have ideas about stuff you want me to think about, talk about, jump on here, talk to me about it, or put it in chat, or I don't know, DM me or something. I don't fucking know. If you DM me, I'll just forget. Just show up and tell me in chat, or you could have questions about schizoid stuff, your emergency stuff, or we could just shoot the shit about whatever you want. I don't care, because on Thursdays I come in blank. I don't come in with a topic in mind, nothing. You guys just feed me things, and we'll talk. On Saturdays I have the Dear Angst. So, and I fucked up last week, but that was an interesting little thing anyway. So that's for the schizoids specifically on the server. They could submit answers to a question that I will usually posit on Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, and then everyone can just sort of answer it. And it's anonymous. We have an even better system in place now. Very awesome dev on our team for the server. Basically has it set up now to where it's even more safe and more anonymous. Well, not to me, I'll still see, but I'll be the only one that sees. But safer privacy-wise, because we discovered that there was like nothing too major, but there was some weird notification shit going on with Discord that was making it to where like certain things were popping up where they shouldn't. Kind of weird. So luckily, once the moment we heard about that, we had to like figure out like, oh shit, okay, what are we gonna do now? And so we found a solution, and yeah, you just put you put your answer in this little box, and then goes to this little bot, and then the bot puts it in my inbox, and so there's like another layer of just separation there for those that were maybe more hesitant before. There's even more discretionary methods. But yeah, that's for Saturday. I'll pop. Remember, if you guys want to see what the question is, or you want to get notified on the server, please go to roles. Go to add a role of the Angst YouTube or whatever role. Add that role, and you will get notifications for that. If you want other types of notifications, add the streaming VC role. Sometimes I use that one if I'm going to watch a movie or play something and people want to watch on the server or whatever. And then yeah, but add those if you're already on the server so that you get notifications for when the streams happen. All right, in any case, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Shadow. Thank you, Saren, for popping in. Appreciate it. Oh, see, there too, Saintus. Thanks for listening in. And if you enjoy all this, please support me on Patreon. It's like the best place you can support me. Support me on PayPal. Donate. It's useful. It pays for like little bills and little things that you know, like, you know, it's like it just pays for all kinds of little things, and it really helps. All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. And as usual, when day is dark, always remember, happy day.